So good morning. This is Jordan Jankis, and this is our third session of the Tech Learning Exchange. And I'm with ARC of Westchester, and let's begin. Welcome, everybody. I appreciate you taking the time to visit with us. At the moment, I'm just showing you a screen about the Coleman Institute. It's very fitting for today, which is the 27th anniversary of the ADA, that we keep remembering the rights of people with cognitive disabilities to technology and information access. If you keep spreading the word about the importance of the folks we serve having access to technology, maybe someday people will have a lot more availability of tech and also the training for technology. And I ask that you take a moment and also visit our website, ARC Westchester Technology. We're going to have ongoing things posted there. You're welcome to post anything and contribute some items. On to our featured software of the day. This is a program that we've used a lot here, Attainment Companies Dollars and Cents. And it teaches basic money skills. And I think it's a wonderful program that has an awful lot of features that we want to see in all apps that are designed to help people with cognitive disabilities. It's broken down into three segments: counting coins, which is naming, sorting, matching, and vending. Then there's a spending money session where you can go shopping in a store. And then there's another segment, making change. So an item may cost $1.50. You give $2, you punch that into the cash register, and you know how much change you should be getting. The things I like about this is that the coins are real size coins. The dollar bills are a little bit smaller than in real life, but the coins are real size. And in addition to the graphics, it also has a voiceover with instructions on what to do. It's impossible to make mistakes here if you don't get it in the coin in the right slot or you pay the wrong amount. It just encourages you to try again. Lots of positive reinforcement when you do well. And it has lots of varied experiences. Like I mentioned, this naming, the sorting, the paying, making change. Very easy to navigate on an iPad. And it has a lot of customizing features where you can change the level of complexity. You can also act as a observer of the performance of individuals. Just a great, great app. The negatives on it, it's not cheap. It's $40, but get what you pay for. This is really a powerful app. And I can't imagine this would be great for folks with a lot of visual impairments. So I'm going to show you a couple of the screens. So if you go into the counting coins section, you have all these different items that you can do: name, sort, match, vending. And here is just the naming one, where you press the penny and it explains that it's 1 cent. This is a sorting app where you put the appropriate coin in a silo. Again, appropriate coin going into individual little tins. And this is the vending app. You put in the right amount of money. In this case, it's $1.20. And this little door here opens up to reveal the thing that you bought. In this case, it's a toothbrush. The spending money section lets you go shop in a store. And like anytime you go into a store, make sure you have a shopping list or else you'll buy too much. So we have to buy 3 items: food, dessert, snack. You go through what shows on the menu here. You pick out the right item. You pay for it, and then you get change. On the top, it shows that I have $5.60 in my wallet, which is pretty close to the truth, and gives folks a good idea to practically spend money and learn about getting change back. and also adhering to a shopping list. Then there's a section on making change that I mentioned, where you put in the price of an item. So it's $1.29. The person is giving you $1.50, and then you enter how much they're giving you, and you get the appropriate change. And you have to pick it out of the drawer what's appropriate. In this case, is 21 cents. So before we get into tech problems, I'm going to try something which I haven't done before. So this is going to be a challenge. I'm going to switch to my iPad so I can show you this app in live. Okay. So I'm going to show my screen now. And let's go into Counting Coins to the vending portion. Unfortunately, I haven't figured out on this how to get sound to come from my iPad into my Mac into the go-to, but you can see the visuals on this. They're pretty nice. So here we have what looks like, I'm guessing, corn dogs, 3 corn dogs behind that glass for a price of 23 cents. So, what coin should I use? Should I use a quarter? Nah, that's too much money. Should I use a nickel? Okay. 5 cents. 10 cents. 15 cents. 20. Whoop. 20 cents. And how much more do I need? Do I have to put another nickel back in there? Nah, that's too much. So 1, 2, 3. Oh, look at those delicious corn dogs. And then you can keep going with various items. Another good thing for any app with whose audience are folks with cognitive issues is to make sure that there's a way to get back to the home screen. And it's very, very easy to navigate. Buttons are large. Here's making change. So let's see, this item cost $1.59. I've got a total of $1.25, 50, 75. So I'm going to put in how much they're paying me. It's going to figure out how much change I get back now. Okay, so I have to give back 16 cents. All right, so 5, 10, 15, 16 cents. I'll enter that, and thank you for shopping at our store. So it's a great app. So now let's talk about a tech problem. And I hope this is a good real-life example of things that we encounter. So you go to a person's house. Their support staff have defined the individual's iPad. Where is it? Is it in the safe? Is it in the closet? Is it under the bed? I'm not sure. They hand it to you, and you look, and there's a 5% battery charge. You're told that they put it in a closet when it's not being used because of security and damage concerns. Nobody wants to have that over their head. So this is just a general question. What qualities and skills can we identify and encourage amongst direct support professionals that will help spread the availability and adoption of personal technology? Because anybody on this call knows that we're only one person and we can't do it all. And when we leave a house, we hope that the personal technology is continued, whether we leave a house or a program, wherever we're dealing with the individuals. Hi, Kelly. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm pretty good. And Daphne, could you unmute your mic?
Hi, can you hear me?
I can hear you just fine. And Laurel from
Okay, great.
Laurel is also here from the beautiful Schenectady Arc. So, has anybody encountered a situation like this?
Yeah, I think the big thing is education with the staff, and especially if it's the actual individual, it's the individual's own iPad or tablet. I know that with my with the group homes that we work in, we're really strong in human rights, and that's the restriction, and so it goes into that whole kind of quality, making sure you're showing the respect to people's human rights, and that locking up something from somebody is restricting them from what their possession. So
Yeah. So, how do you have that conversation with the individual, the staff person?
just an open dialogue about it, and probably putting them in their shoes. Kind of the thing that I always say: how would you feel if somebody took something from you? We have to train. If you're concerned of property getting broken, then we need to make sure that we're getting proper cases around the tablet if that's a concern of it getting dropped or something.
Have you found many people that will work with an individual, in the program or in a house setting, after you've given them instructions and continue it over a period of time? Any of you folks?
Jordan, this is Daphne. I can speak a little bit on that. This is definitely a situation that I think all of us have run into, so I was happy to see it on your agenda today.
Okay.
Some of the things that I've had success with in some cases have been, and kind of the way I've addressed this is just through modeling in that moment. So if you can get the staff excited about seeing an individual's abilities and their own excitement over using the technology in that moment, and also address the concerns that the staff has, like, you mentioned the what happens if the device is broken or stolen, just trying to focus on the outcome for the person being the primary focus, incorporating it into their IP goals so that their job is to support them in using the technology to achieve a goal. And that's far more important than a possible scenario. Like, they'll be held more accountable failing to help a person achieve their goal, than they would be if something were to happen to the device. So just doing some education around, well, if the device is broken, you're not going to be held accountable. We'd rather them be using it so much that it falls and breaks and we replace it than having it sit locked up in a cabinet,
Right.
Giving them that confidence, and also, really working with the managers who supervise them, since you can't be there every day, to make sure that that's something that they're supporting their staff in on a regular basis.
Do you see any situations where somebody takes their iPad from the house to the program each day?
We have that situation, and that is a team issue that needs to be addressed for sure. Like, if something that happens is a person is supposed to come in with the iPad and they don't, like if they're using it for communication purposes.
Right.
And so that's something that I always encourage the team to communicate about with in the moment, just like if a person came in without their wheelchair or their lunch, but that can be difficult to get people to see that in the same light.
Right.
Sure.
Does anybody give recognition to the staff? Because we're thinking of piloting a program where we'll take some CQL POMS goals and develop some curriculum that can be used on an iPad to reinforce it. And we're trying to figure out how we can recognize the staff that will pilot the program, because of course none of us has any money. So,
right.
How do you motivate people? Are you, congratulations, you're a digital ambassador, or whatever you want to give the title?
I know with the smart home that we had done in one of my group homes, trying to buy in the staff was just they have a typical routine, a daily, job that they always do, and no, we can't give them money for, stepping into this role and helping, make this smart home happen. But what we try to tie in is that we can kind of break your routine of, going to work every day, the same place, and we can, have you come out and help train and go across the state and help with the buy-in to the other staff. So we're kind of giving them kind of an additional importance and involvement with the whole initiative.
Recognition amongst their peers that they're doing something different. I notice basic things like, and this is something you have to work on all the time, even when my daughter's now in a group home and when I pick her up on Fridays for a weekend visit, I know one of the first things I have to do is clean the screen on her iPad because, it goes back to how many people do we see with dirty glasses when you're trying to teach them an app, and first priority business is make sure their eyeglasses are clean. So
Right.
it's always the basics, always the basics.
Well, I think part of it is people see it as something extra, not like a part of their job,
Right.
But technology is a part of our job, certainly, you
Right.
know. And so, something that we've tried to do, because it hasn't always been a part of direct support's job, is really introducing it to people when they first come on board with us. So, we've incorporated a 30-minute overview of assistive technology into our orientation and training, where people see a video, they see pictures of people in our programs using devices and talking about the person and how they're using it rather than just the device, and sort of orienting them and knowing that, hey, this is something we do, this is something you're going to do, so it's not something that's seen as something extra.
Right.
But I think as much as you can, whether it's in a staff newsletter or just sending a quick email out to recognize someone, I think that does go a long way as you're trying to kind of change a culture and motivate staff.
That's a great idea. So in each newsletter coming out, that you feature somebody that maybe made even a simple thing like they made a referral to ask you to come in and help with somebody's situation. I've gone in recently into a couple of places where, literally the iPad is in a metal cabinet and nobody showed folks how to use it. Even I went into two programs and, there was an Amazon Echo and they had gotten the Echo, which is fantastic, but nobody showed them how to turn it on. And when I said, hello, Alexa, people were shocked that it was actually working.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm not sure who mentioned this in the question, but comments, questions, but maybe Daphne or somebody said that on the app, the dollars and cents apps, that I'm using it now for someone who is interested in getting a job as a cashier, and we're using it to build her confidence and skills. Who made that comment?
Yeah, that was me, Daphne.
Oh,
yeah, I'm
great.
working with a lady now she attends one of our centers, but she's looking for community-based employment.
Okay.
And she's had a couple interviews and is interested in being a cashier. And while we've kind of encouraged her to just try it out with a job coach and she can do it, she has an iPad at home and is really comfortable with it. So I hooked her up with that so she can just kind of familiarize herself with cashiering and in a fun way that's not intimidating to her as she kind of builds her confidence in that area.
Yeah.
So it's been working really great. She loves it.
Great. And has anybody else used the dollars and cents? Kelly, have you used it in your program or?
I have not. Definitely going to be looking into it.
At the Attainment Company, they have a app that just came out to help older teens and young adults improve their reading skills. And it looks like a fascinating program. It's $80 for the app, but if it's anything like dollars and cents, I'm going to see if I can make a pitch internally here, because that's such a frustrating thing when you see guys that don't have a chance to improve their literacy over time. All right, so I think we're all on board with this problem, and anytime you decide to go somewhere, I think one of the first questions after you find out what time you make the appointment to visit somebody, ask them to please plug in the iPad before you get there.
Right.
I was working with somebody the other day, and I only had like a 3-foot lightning cable, so my instruction was near the radiator because it was out of juice. It's as far as I could go with it. Anyway.
I mean, you could always set an alarm on it to go off every night to remind people to charge it.
That's an excellent idea. Please
But then
charge
they might
me.
not.
Please charge me.
Right.
System-wide problems, things that are challenging us every day and making the impossible possible. So, have any of you gone out and talked to local businesses or tech folks about your initiatives in personal technology? I know people go out and talk about, general fundraising and employment breakfasts and all that kind of stuff, but is it technology part of your pitch? I don't know what's going to happen to me tonight, but I can share this with you and just I'm trying to promote the idea of somebody coming up with, this is especially after Laurel at Schenectady Art came up with such a, she has 2 or 3 great apps that they developed over at that agency, to try and find some software app developers that might be interested in looking into this field, or even if it's not apps for this field, just to take their existing app development and make it more cognitively accessible. So locally, I stumbled across a meetup group in Westchester, and it's a bunch of tech guys, web developers, app developers, user interface engineers, and they meet regularly local. And then I found out that in the general area, sort of like the Hudson Valley area that includes Westchester, there's even a larger group. So tonight I'm going to drive up to Kingston for a meeting of the Hudson Valley Tech Meetup, and they have a section in it, a community forum, where you get basically 3 or 4 minutes to make a pitch. So I'm going to try, and maybe they'll throw me out of there, I don't know, but I'm going to make a pitch that, think about developing apps for people with cognitive disabilities, because beyond our discrete market of people with IDD, there are also the geriatric markets, the TBI markets, and all that. And according to Coleman, there's over 28 million people with cognitive disability. So it's a pretty sizable market. And even if that doesn't get their attention, that all of them are, there are ARCs all over the United States. If they ever want to give back to the community, we can always use volunteers that'll help people learn basic things like email using personal technology. So I'll let you know how this goes. I have a Pollyanna enthusiasm for this. I don't know if it's going to work out, but I'm going to try and see what happens. Daphne, I've told several people about your initiative at the airport.
I was just getting ready to speak on that. Yeah, so a couple years ago, I wrote to all the airlines figuring that there were a lot of iPads and iPods that people leave behind in the lost and found. And I had success with our local airport, BWI, for a couple of reasons, I think. One, we already have a crew there that does their janitorial, so they know us. And two, I learned through this process that you can't request items from the airlines directly. So, but anyway, long story short, we get donated iPods, laptops, iPads, digital cameras, and some other electronics that people leave behind at the airport. And that's been really wonderful for us. We've gotten hundreds of devices over the years. Every couple months, they just email me that they've got stuff ready to pick up. We pick it up. And then some of the stuff we can't use, especially now with the newer software, it's more difficult to unlock some of the devices.
Right.
Sometimes we've actually been able to track down the owners once we get into the devices, and then they've
Really?
ended up giving money to us. Yeah. That's been a very fruitful collaboration. And then other colleges in our area, we've established partnerships with them. So their faculty, maybe they'll have like 20 iPhones that they're replacing, and they'll give us the old ones, and we can use them as iPod touches for people in our programs. So,
Yeah. So if you get an iPad from the airline and there's not, you don't know what the password or username on it is, or to unlock it, you actually have talked to the people. You've tracked them down.
Right. Yeah, we have.
You're unstoppable. You're amazing.
I mean, a lot of times they're not local,
Yeah, sure.
It can be a little tough, but we've only had a couple cases because the airport does everything they can to try to locate them. But if a device is dead or something, then by the time we charge it up, then maybe we'll see something they didn't, and then we can track them down. So.
Do you ever have any success with getting any tech volunteers or guys from with a technical background that are willing to volunteer with the folks we serve?
We have had some college students. Towson University is right across the street from us.
Oh, wow.
And
yeah.
obviously, they use Facebook and the internet all the time, and it just comes very naturally to them to teach people how to use it. So we've hooked up people in our programs with some volunteers from there. And then we have a great partnership also with their occupational therapy department. And so every semester, I usually get a group of students who I'll assign to one of our day centers to work on a project. So one semester they did like adapted gardening with people. So we got a bunch of recommendations on equipment that they could use on an ongoing basis. They've done like adapted music and art classes. So some really neat stuff has come out of that partnership as well.
That's great.
I find that partnering with OT is wonderful because they have a faculty supervisor. So we've established a great relationship with them, and they really provide clinical supervision, which is something that if anybody supervised volunteers, especially students who only need a couple months, you know how much time and energy from yourself and your plate that takes. So it's really nice to have someone else supervising them who we've worked with, and we kind of just have a very holistic partnership going on.
Yeah.
So that's been great.
Yeah, we have a similar one with Mercy College where we have we actually have a fellowship now that our foundation developed where they actually get a stipend. They choose one graduate student who not only does their graduate work in the field in our locations, but they also get a stipend for the time that they're working. And it's great. Like you said, a faculty supervisor is a wonderful resource. Absolutely.
Exactly.
But it's great to have a new set of eyes, too, because sometimes when you're doing this after a while, you forget that you know a lot of things. And you see somebody new coming into it, and you know a lot of practical solutions. So that's a good sharing, but also they can bring some insights to you. I was at a day program the other day that they called us in, and they have a gentleman there that really wants to get an iPad. He's legally blind. He can see somewhat and all that, but and then he has some issues with his arms that he doesn't have a lot of motor control. So we got around some of the obstacles, and then the person that was helping him out suggested that I increase the display brightness on the iPad, and it's such a simple thing, and I did it, and I never think of doing it because I'm always worried about my battery draining out. But I increased the brightness, and it was all of a sudden the guy was actually hitting the right things, the right buttons and all that. So simple that it was ridiculous. So, these, lessons from the field, as they say. If anybody has any exciting ideas on how to get more people participating in our Slack group, I'd love to hear about it, because I look at it sometimes and I'm the one that's posting the most items, and sometimes I'm saying, am I just talking to myself? So. But again, the Pollyanna comes out, and I'm going to make this work someday. We're having a couple of sessions coming up that you guys might be interested in August and September. There's a company that's a distributor of products, and they're going to be showing a phone that's very easily used by people. It was originally designed by people for people that have visual problems, but for folks with cognitive issues, it could be a real plus too. Very big buttons, very easy emergency contact. So we're going to have that in August. And then in September, that same distributor is going to be talking about an application that I knew as Talkit, but has now changed its name to VoiceIt. Do you know about that one, Daphne?
I know the name. I'm trying to picture it.
Yeah.
There's so many.
It sounds like an absolutely fascinating product. It's still in the beta stage. It's supposed to be released soon. They've been doing a lot of user tests in New York. But it's where somebody that has a very difficult speech pattern that won't work with standard voice recognition, they build their own vocabulary so that, say like my daughter, when she says, I want a glass of milk, she says, me want mook. And you would work with that person, develop a vocabulary, and then they would say, me want mook, and the person they're communicating with would hear, I want a glass of milk. And it translates anything that you say in your particular pronunciation into understandable speech. And so it has incredible potential. It's an Israeli firm that's been working on it for a couple of years, but it should be coming out very soon. So they're going to talk about that in September. So that could be a very exciting session in our Take a Bite lunchtime series.
That's awesome. I actually did hear about that app because I'm working with a guy who had a traumatic brain injury who has very slurred and fast speech and quiet. So he's tried out a lot of voice amplifiers, but they just amplify his jumbled speech.
Exactly.
So his family, who has been kind of keeping an eye on the development of that. So that's great. I'm excited to hear. We'll be hearing more about that soon.
Yeah. And the funny thing I've seen in, like, when I was doing a lot of self-advocacy work, and as a parent, you eventually, the easiest thing for people to do is to get you to be their interpreter, and you get to, used to their body language and their indications. And so I can tell people that Jessie wants a glass of milk, but now that she's living independently,
right,
it would be so much better if she could say these things. So, it's just a wonderful product and a sign of amazing things that are coming out in the market in the months ahead. One interesting topic, if anybody wants to take this on, I would love to see more uses for the Amazon Echo. But there must be so many things that we can do with Alexa, and I know there are limitations. You have to have pretty good pronunciation. But boy, it has tremendous potential. And the nice thing about the Echo is that it keeps changing week by week. They keep adding so many features. So if anybody wants to take this on, do a presentation, I would love to hear more about this. I'm not going to keep you guys. Everybody is busy as could be. I know I am. So thank you so much for all the participation. Have a lovely day. Enjoy what's left of July. Take care, guys.
Thanks. Good luck tonight.
Thanks a lot.